Hi and welcome to our eyeUNIFY 2 video series. My name is Dirk. I'm the trainer for Leyard Europe, and I want to introduce you our new eyeUNIFY 2 wall management software in a couple of videos. So with eyeUNIFY 2, we are able to capture any kind of source, whether it's be an HDMI or DisplayPort, DVI source. It can be streaming, VNC, remote source, and display this on a huge wall with scaling, picture-in-picture effects. We can handle multiple displays and also multiple walls in one system. We have an integrated layout management that allows us to capture the state of a wall and replay this anytime we need. The advanced functionalities of eyeUNIFY 2 is remote desktop capture. So this is our cast service where we can capture the desktop of any computer and display this on the wall. This is part of eyeUNIFY Enterprise only. Then we have an integrated audio management, which allows us to capture embedded audio from HDMI or DisplayPort sources and route this audio to the analog audio outputs of the Netpix. We have an integrated user management which works with LDAP or Active Directory. We have a hotkey manager where we can just have special actions on hotkeys on your keyboard. An integrated scheduler which allows us to run commands, external commands or layouts, time controlled. An integrated digital clock with multiple time zones are selectable. And we have an advanced logging feature. Before we talk more about the software, we have to take a look to the hardware. So the hardware is the Netpix, while eyeUNIFY is a software that is running on the Netpix. So what is a Netpix system? A Netpix is a wall controller that is designed to show network-based and physical connected sources on video walls, single displays, projectors, or whatever. It's mostly designed for control room applications based on reliable hardware made for 24/7 operation. And it's optimized to display all kinds of sources, such as physical connected DVI DisplayPort sources or also IP streaming and cast sources. And we can display all these sources on one big desktop. Currently, we have three kinds of Netpix hardware. All of them are running the same eyeUNIFY software. But as hardware flavors, we have the Netpix Core, which is our flagship. So this is based on an i7 CPU, and we can have up to 48 full HD 60 Hz outputs or 24 4K outputs with 60 Hz. We have a large choice of input cards such as DVI, HDMI, dual link DVI, also analog video, and of course our IP streaming decoder card. The whole system has an 11-slot backplane and a single board computer CPU that is located here in one of those slots, and it can be expanded with up to 3 expansion chassis. So that allows us to have a lot of input and output cards in one system. The next system is the Netpix Rage. The Netpix Rage is a little bit different. It is based on NVIDIA hardware, on NVIDIA graphics cards, Quadro Pro series. We can have up to 16 outputs with 4K and more. And because we do not have any input cards, so this system is designed for streaming sources, or we can also run 3D render applications on this machine thanks to this powerful hardware. Also available is a genlock feature. So if we need to cluster those machines, we can lock them to an external signal or use one of those machines as system master. And finally, there's the EPU, which is a little bit special. So the EPU is a small computer with an i5 processor. It can drive 1 or 2 displays with up to 4K, and it can decode up to 6 full HD videos with 60 Hz. The main application is for security applications. It is a very scalable system. We will have a closer look to the EPU in one of the next slides. But before we go more into the hardware, we have to talk about the eyeUNIFY modules. So there's the main module is the eyeUNIFY Core. The eyeUNIFY core is the back-end management system, which is responsible for all the back-end information, all the management, the communication between those modules. Then we have the front end, which is our web interface. Which is also hosted by the eyeUNIFY core. We have eyeUNIFY Link, which opens an API to third-party applications such as Crestone controllers or AMX controllers or whatever, or user-written scripts. And we have an integrated user management. So this is all done and managed by the core. Another important module is the executor. So the executor is that piece of software that is responsible to display the sources. So it integrates video player, streaming, decoder, manages the hardware inputs, and has also the client for eyeUNIFY Cast. If we want to display a source on the wall, then the core tells the executor what source to display, where on the wall, what sizing, cropping, or whatever, and this is done by the executor. So the executor is responsible for displaying the source, while the instructions where to display and how to manage the sources are coming from the core. So here everything is managed. And then we have eyeUNIFY Cast. This is the VNC server part. So you have to install eyeUNIFY Cast on computers, which desktop you want to capture or want to see on the wall. With that in mind, it's easier to explain how EPU works. So with an EPU, we have the executor installed on the EPU unit itself, and we have another computer which is running the core. And in that case, if we want to display one of those sources, so these are all network-based sources. If we have a source that has only just an HDMI or DisplayPort output, then we need to use an encoder, which offers us a network stream. And in that case, if I want to display any source, let's say this camera here, then the core instructs, for example, this EPU to get the stream of this camera and show this on this part of the wall. In eyeUNIFY, we will see just one wall here, one 2x2 wall here, and not for a single display. So we can manage this as a wall. So it's also possible to scale pictures. So let's say we want to show the desktop of this computer here. And in that case, the core instructs all those 4 executors to show the content of this computer, to get this cast stream here. And it instructs this one to show the upper left, and here the upper right part of the source, and here the lower left and the lower right. So in the end, we have one big picture here over the whole wall. There's one issue. Let's say if you show a video, because of the fact that the outputs of the EPUs are not synchronized with a video, when you have a video running here, then you will see some synchronization issues between those screens here. So this is mainly used for if you need to have a big picture here, then it's better if you have more or less static content. And if you have fast moving video content, then this is not the best solution. Of course, you have no issue to display a video in those single screen, and you can decode up to 6 full HD streams here with one APU. Also for the Netpix, there are several configurations available. So the standard configuration is like this. So we have a Netpix where we have the core and the executor installed on one system. We have our hardware sources connected to the Netpix, and we have our network sources in our network. And the Netpix drives one or more walls or displays. In this example, an LED wall, a 2x2 LCD wall, and a large 4K display. So this is a standard configuration, and now we can show any kind of those connected content on any wall. Another configuration could be this backup scenario. So in this case, we have 2 Netpixes which are running only the executor, and they are connected to one wall, to 2 different inputs of the wall. And we have the core here, and the core is managing these 2 Netpixes. And this leads to a situation that if we do something here on this Netpix, we will have the same action on the second Netpix. So that means at any time, both Netpixes have the same output state. So which means if one of those Netpixes fails, or if the cable connection fails, then you can easily switch over to the second one. And then there's a third scenario, which is similar to what we use with EPU. So we have a core here and 2 Netpixes, and those Netpixes serve 2 different walls. And in our client, we will see just one wall, which is served by 2 Netpixes. So this is more or less the same that we do with EPUs. For the audio management, we can grab the embedded audio of HDMI or DisplayPort sources, and then we can set the sound value and route this output to the analog stereo output of the slot CPU card and feed this to an amplifier or stereo system. So before we can start with our software, we need to configure the Netpix hardware. Usually you do not have to do this, because when you order a Netpix, everything is configured. Also the software is installed, the display groups are created, everything is finished and fixed. So you do not have to do this. I just want to show you how easy it is, just in case that you might need to do this on site. In a Netpix core, we are working with display groups. So if we have multiple displays that should build a wall, then we create a display group for that. To do this, we right-click on the Netpix desktop and choose Display Driver Configuration. And in this particular case, there is no display group configured yet. Otherwise, you will see the display group or groups here in this screen. Then you can edit this. In this case, we press the plus button, and now we enter the size of the wall here. So it's a horizontal and vertical number of displays. We can arrange it here, and then we push the add button, and then we get our displays here. And once we have our displays, we can select the resolution of each output and also choose the port that we want to use for this display. For this video, or for the series of videos, I'm using 2 display groups. So I have a 2x2 wall that is connected to port 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I have another display group on port 5 and 7. With these 2 display groups, from Windows point of view, even if these are 6 screens, 6 monitors, from Windows point of view, I have only 2 monitors. So this is my first display group with my 4 outputs. In this case, it's 3840 by 2160 pixels. And I have a second screen, which is my 1x2 configuration. So this is 1920 by 2160. Physically, it's looked like this. So I have my 2x2 wall here with my first display group, and this is my 1x2 wall with the second display group. In addition to this, I have in my configuration also an APU, and with a single cube connected. You will see this later. My Netpix hardware looks like this. So I have the APU here. Here I have installed the core and the executor, and this one is connected to a 60-inch TRP cube. And I have this Netpix here with this 6 output. One is driving the 2x2 wall, and one is driving the 1x2 wall. Once we've configured our hardware, we can install the software. Again, usually you do not have to do this. It's just to show you how easy it is to manage. a-UNIFY relies on Java because it's a Java application. So it requires Java 48-bit. But this is already part of the installer. So you have an installer directory, and there's only just this a-UNIFY installer and maybe a serial number. And if you install, I recommend to use the default directory. So in case that you need support, it's easier for our support team to point you to a specific file if it's used in the standard directory. So, and then we have to choose the modules. So in this case, on my APU, I installed the core and the executor. And on the Netpix, I installed only the executor. So I just choose which module I want to install. And then the installation process runs. And I have a summary here. And once the installation process is finished, I reboot the computer. And after that, I get 2 pop-up windows here. This is just the first time after the installation. So these windows request the license key. So there's one window from the executor and one from the core. Of course, if you have installed only the core or only just one part, then you see only one of those displays. So once you've entered the serial number, then for the executor, this part is finished. The core will ask you for the management user. This is a user with administration privileges, and this is the one that can do anything and configure the system and also create new users with restricted rights. Our a-UNIFY installation is finished, and we might have to install a-UNIFY cast if we want to capture the desktop of additional computers. So for a-UNIFY cast, just remember, we have the client that is running on the Netpix, and we have the server that has to be installed on the PC, which desktop we want to visualize on the Netpix. So we have also an installer for that, and just run the installer on that machine, and you'll be done. Just a summary. So a-UNIFY consists of several modules that can be installed together or on one server. For load balancing, it's possible to distribute the modules, or also if we need backup installations or whatever, then we can distribute this. The end user interface is web-based, can be used with all popular HTML5 browsers. The executor has to be installed on every computer that has connected one or more displays, so which build our wall. And a-UNIFY cast has to be installed on all computers whose screen content should be displayed. Finally, please remember that in distributed systems, the firewall must be configured if it's activated.